I'd like to call the town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills to order. It is October 13th, 2020. It's 7 p.m. The notice was posted at the town hall and also on the town's website. Item 2 is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as published?
I'll make a motion to adopt October's agenda as printed.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as published, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The agenda is passed. Item 3, approval of the minutes from our September meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the September 9th, 20 meeting, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Minutes are approved. Item 4, approval of the treasurer's report.
Make a motion to approve the October's treasurer's report.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions?
I just want to comment that on that Crossman Road Reserve CD, that's coming due in November, and I don't remember the exact date. I don't know if it's before the meeting or after the meeting, so if you tell me what you want to do with that later.
The interest that is accruing is going to stay there, right? Or
Well, pardon?
the interest on that is staying in that account, or?
No, that's going into general.
Yeah, I was wondering why that is. Just asking.
Okay.
Question. Shouldn't it stay in there?
It'd be nice to spend about $2,400.
Well, we also have some engineering expense, I don't know exactly where we're at with Crossman Road engineering, but if we're gonna roll that into the general budget, that's where it should go. It should be earmarked for design. But I guess we can discuss that a little later, huh? When we get to
Yeah.
highway work.
6-month CD or something, because that would get them until spring.
I'll have to see what terms they have, if they have a 6-month or 9-month or what they have.
Yeah.
Well, let's put that on the back burner until we get to the discussion on engineering and road work, which is coming up soon. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the October 2020 treasurer's report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thank you, Sharon, for bringing that up to us. Approval of the general fund vouching.
Make a motion to approve October's disbursements of $58,987.55.
Second the motion.
Any questions or any discussion on the disbursements? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the general fund vouching, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The vouching is carried. Thank you. Now for our reports. Item 6. First of all, I'd like to ask Robin to give us a little update as our clerk about voting and voting procedures in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
All right, so voting, where we're at right now is about half of the electors in the town have requested absentees for the November 3rd election, which means foot traffic here at the hall will be less on the day of election than we've seen in past presidential elections. You can still request an absentee ballot. The deadline for that is coming up. It's usually the week before the election itself. In-person early voting, which in Wisconsin is basically absentee voting in person in the clerk's office, starts on October 20th, and they'll have to contact me to set up an appointment for me to meet them here at the town hall. I don't have any set hours for that. I think it actually allows me to be more flexible with other people's needs because I don't get a lot of requests for that. Otherwise, there's a drop box out in front of the town hall for people to return their completed ballots to. That's secure. I pick up the ballots once or twice a day, sometimes more if I'm running through. If they're unsure what the status of their ballot is, if they either haven't received it or they've returned it but want to know if it's been returned directly to me yet, they can always call me or email me. You can also check the state's website, myvote.wi.gov, to check that status. Any other questions or anything you're thinking of? It's been busy.
Questions from the audience about in-person voting or online voting or absentee voting?
Yeah.
Hearing none, we'll move right on. Thank you, Robin. I know it's been a difficult time.
Not difficult, just busy.
Good. All right, on to the police report. Chief Miller.
For the boat patrol, we had 54 hours of boat patrol in the month of September. Issued 3 warnings, 1 compliance safety inspection for the boat. The boat is off the water, the PWC is off the water. The boats have been winterized and in storage. The PWC is down at Rob's Motorsport getting winterized and ready to be put away for the year. Overall, we had a pretty good boating season. We only had 1 reported accident on the lake this year. For the road patrol, we had 48 hours of road patrol, handled 5 complaints, spent 7 hours on those complaints, had a total of 12 traffic stops, 6 warnings, 6 citations, spent 7.5 hours running stationary radar, total of 8 ordinance citations issued, 7 residence and business checks, and 12 park checks, and monitored 3 extra patrols. And that was a pretty quiet month, September was.
Any questions for Chief Miller? Thank you, Matt, very much. Appreciate your service. Look forward to thinking about the budget. Right? All right, moving on. Planning Commission report. Mr. Hines.
The zoning request by the Johnstons out on Mud Lake Road was approved for 2 splits, 2 2-acre splits. Also, we're going to ask about the progress of the subdivision ordinance, and I guess we're going to talk about that tonight a little bit. Or, you know, it's supposed to be getting a draft of that to be resubmitted back to the Plan Commission for review. And then also, we're going to start investigating the boundary agreement, or intergovernmental boundary agreement with City of Lake Mills again, which expires in 2022, I guess. That's it.
Thank you. All right. Dave usually gives us our Cambridge fire report, but tonight we have a guest. Mr. Bob Saloff is here. Why don't you two decide how you're going to report on what we're going to talk about?
Floor is yours, Bob.
Right. I'll be very brief. I understand you have a big meeting.
Well, and we have some other things that we're going to discuss later on that I'm sure you're going to have 2 cents worth in too, so.
So the number one is that in December of 2017, the state passed a new law. It's called Act 97. It allows for a service to step up to a higher level of license if they have the staffing. So at that point, we decided to act on that law, and we submitted an application to the state. It's just an operational plan. It's all the detail of how we plan to operate. And they sent back a letter in March of 2019 saying it wasn't a permit, it was acknowledging that we wanted to go there because they don't have any rules about how to do this. Everything Dave and I do, we do by rules, administrative rules, but they didn't yet have any rules to this new law. So they basically said, look, if your medical director says it's okay, go forward. So we did. And that was a year ago in July. We started with the paramedics. And of course, you know, since you just have a little sliver of our district, maybe you didn't see the impact, but the impact budgetarily in 2019, 2020 was pretty severe. We went to full-time paramedic staffing. And now, since we've been operating as full-time paramedic, we want to go for the license, the actual license. That way we can put it on our ambulance and we can be efficient. So I'm asking for your support for that. And your support, hopefully, we can better serve the community. We'll have a very much higher level of service when we go out for an emergency, for an injury, or for an illness. So we've been doing that. It's working really well. We've got all the paramedics have been hired. We have 6 full-time paramedics and 2 part-time paramedics, and a few other volunteers that help us out. We've got all the equipment and all the resources, so there's no budgetary impact of this. It's just, we want to apply for the full license. So I sent Robin, I just sent it a couple minutes ago, a template for a letter.
I found the earlier one.
You're welcome to, you can not send it that way, or you can edit it or change it, or whatever pleases you. It's just a draft suggestion. Any questions? We're very proud to serve with paramedic level services. Yes, sir.
So you're asking all the communities involved in this. So have any of the other ones put together a resolution or a letter?
Yes, Christiana did, and Oakland did, and we're waiting on the village of Cambridge. And we also, and we got one from Rockdale. But I'm also asking it for all the directors and chiefs. Oh, I haven't asked. Have I asked? Yes, I did ask. So
We're giving them one too.
This is,
well, it's just, you know,
this is what he sent me as a template. This is just about the paramedic.
Do you have an example
Services.
from other townships of their letter of recommendation?
it's pretty much the same.
It's this?
It's that, they did change, some of them changed it a little bit, but not severely. I think, I did get one that was very, very unique. They just wrote a whole letter of their own. I got the Jefferson County's emergency management support, and also several other people in the county. Ben, I think, has sent a support letter. Of course, from Dane County, I got it from emergency management. And so the state asked for a feasibility study. They want to know that I went and did what I'm doing tonight. And they also want to see some support letters. But I got a lot of them. I'd love to have one from the town.
Okay.
All right.
Who's gonna put this together?
Any other questions?
Yes, I will.
I can't volunteer.
We'll work together on it.
What's that?
We'll work together to get it redone and.
Yeah, I can forward
reword it.
what he gave me as a template. I just put it on our letterhead is basically all I did,
All
so.
right.
Okay.
So they asked about the new ambulances. They're not brand new, they're 5 years old. And so we got a good deal for them. We got them for $95,000 each. As you know, new ones cost about $250 or on up, which would have been a huge expense. So right now they're being painted. There's a few scrapes on them. They're being cleaned up. We'll put the lettering on probably this next week or the week after. So hopefully by November we'll have them in place. And the old ones are in excellent condition. If you'd like to buy one just to have an extra ambulance.
Laying around.
To be no market for used ambulances or
Well,
fire trucks. Well, why don't we do this? I will make a motion to write a letter of support to Jonathan Lockhart, who is the section chief of the Department of Health Services, in support of the Cambridge area EMS seeking their paramedic license.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign.
Madam Chair, did you want me to stay for the discussion?
Yes, I wish you would, please. It's coming up next, Bob, so thank you. Thank you for making the presentation to us tonight.
Sure, Michael.
We understand the grantsmanship involved. Item D, Joint Rock Lake Committee report. No one here from it. I was at the attendance at the meeting. The Joint Rock Lake Committee was asked to make a motion to support the responsibility of the Majala Shore Dredge be appointed to the township, and that motion failed. It did not have an author, and I think there was some disappointment in the audience, including some disappointment on my part about how things went that evening. But I'm sure we're going to hear more about that from those in attendance this evening. Public Works report, I did not receive anything from John Reich, although I do know he is attending those meetings. We'll move on to item 7, which is our period of public comment and questions. And if you would like to make a public comment, please come to the podium, tell us who you are, and give us your comments. Hi, Wendy.
I'm Wendy Davies, live on Cedar Lane, and I just have a very short presentation to give as related to what Hope had said about the Joint Rock Lake. It really isn't about that, but it's about where we've come from. So we're here to talk about the safety of Rock Lake and the navigable waters known as the Jala Channel. I cannot emphasize enough the number of fishermen, kayakers, canoeists, walkers, hikers, boaters, and everybody else who enjoys that channel. Those of you who live nearby see it up and down the channel all the time. We would like to make 3 points tonight. Involvement, consensus, and action. Under involvement, we know we must stay involved with all the measures set out to reduce the pollution contaminating Rock Lake. We understand how much work has been done to date and scheduled to be done. This includes the ongoing execution of the 2013 plan. The plan to repair the culvert and add riprap under the Cedar Lane Road. The plan to fix the turbidity curtain. Under consensus, we want to let you know that there's more than just the residents who live on the channel. There are the landowners upstream, the RLIA, the township, the DNR, and many more that we need to get all on board doing the same thing and complementing each other. We need to work together to improve the overall health of Rock Lake. We need to appreciate everyone's concerns and ideas and all the work that has been done in the past and the work that continues. Under our action, we need to become familiar with that 2013 plan. To be totally honest, I've read it, and I still don't totally understand what it means impact-wise or financial-wise and things like that. So we need to get with Wes and Lee and other kind of historical people that have been involved with this right along to fully understand that plan, what actions have been taken, what else needs to be done, and help develop a timeline to follow. Wes has suggested we work with the RLIA in a formal subcommittee structure. Within the subcommittee structure, we will learn what resources might be available to us. We intend on going to the RLI meeting and getting involved. Hope, to your point, the Lake District concept continues to be tossed out there. Did you know that there are 200 designated lake districts in the state of Wisconsin? It may be a lofty goal, but we should not eliminate it as a possibility for ongoing funding for all Rock Lake improvements. So in concluding this presentation, I want to let you know where we stand, what we are doing, and if you have any feedback to us, please share it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Anyone else want to make a public comment on any other topic that is not on our agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll move right on. Item 8, review of applications that have been filed. Item A, discussion and/or decision of a request for rezone and parcel split for Timothy and Tracy Johnston Trust for property at N50 or N7527 Mud Lake Road for a buildable lot. Should be lots. Welcome, you guys. I'm sure you're here to represent Mom and Dad, right? Yeah. Would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're at?
Yeah, I'm Kaylee Garman, so I'm Tim and Tracy's daughter. They unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, so we are here representing them so that we come. This is my husband, Mike. They've done a lot of work out there. They've done a lot of cleanup, and then so they're just hoping to someday kind of have a residence out there.
As Jim reported in our Planning Commission report, this came before them at our last meeting, and what they approved was 2 parcel splits at N7527 Mud Lake Road for 2 lots of 2 acres each. attached to the rest of the parcel. And they gave their approval. I will make a motion to approve the rezoning request for the parcel split for the Johnstons on Mud Lake Road. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion or questions? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the parcel split and the rezone, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thank you for coming. Best wishes. See what happens.
So I'll have them sign, or Hope signs the documents, I'll get it sent over to the county, and I'll get a copy sent to your parents.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on, item 9, new business. Discussion of our 6-year road plan with our town engineer, Corey Horton, who is here tonight, including a discussion of grant funding for Crossman Road, Rock Lake Road, and Fall Road Tour information. So welcome, Corey. Thank you for coming tonight. I know we kind of put you on the COVID spot too.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm here, I guess, mostly to answer questions as they come up, but I guess also just to advise you, my professional opinion on a couple items. You do have some grants that are approved and in process for the road improvements. The Rock Lake Road has town road improvement discretionary approval for almost $192,000, which needs to be spent by 2023. That's a project I know that the town has been thinking and about doing in the future. And with this grant that's available to you, I'd really encourage you to take advantage of the funds that are there. As I mentioned, this program is a discretionary program. It comes up every couple of years, and they generally only allocate grant funds to one project per county. So that project, again, needs to be constructed by 2023, so I would really encourage you to kind of get that on your radar to get constructed, because we all know funding is tight, and when you have grant funding, you really don't want to let that slip through your hands. Not only does it make it, I guess, more difficult to keep up with your road maintenance, in the future when you go to get discretionary grants in the future, it just doesn't look as good to the selection committees if you've received a grant and then turned it down. So that's basically for Rock Lake Road. Mud Lake Road has a small LRIP funding, which is non-discretionary. That project only has about $5,000 for that project. And then I guess Crossman Road is the other one, where the town, as you were talking about earlier, has some funding from the Daybreak project, and also grant awards that have occurred also. So that grant program for completing Crossman is another one of those funding sources that doesn't come around very often. That was kind of a one-time program that the DOT had, that the town was successful in obtaining those grant funds. So that project also, I would really recommend to get that completed so you don't have to turn down the grant funding. So with that, I guess if you have any questions, I'd be glad to.
Corey, do you know how long our Crossman Road MLS grant is, how long that term is?
So I'm not familiar with the new terms of that. That should be in your state municipal agreement, but the MLS program, as you know, kind of went away, and then the DOT ended up utilizing some of their internal funding to honor that MLS grant. So I'm not sure what the construction deadline was in the new state municipal agreement, but that would be a very good thing to take a look at to make sure that we're meeting those deadlines in the new agreement.
Do you think that money is secure?
The state
The grant?
MLS grant funding?
Yeah, for Crossman Road.
Yeah, we got the MLS grant. When we got that state municipal agreement, it did indicate in there that there was a court case going on, which ultimately the court case overturned the program. But then the DOT stepped up with their internal funding and LRIP and said that they were going to stick to those commitments. So what I believe is the DOT does have that money, they do have it allocated, and they do have the mechanism to pay for it.
Okay.
That being said, you know, politics is politics and stuff can change on us when we least expect it. But all signs are pointing to that funding being available for Crossman.
You see this document? This is the signed agreement.
Okay. The other question I have, Corey, is on the Rock Lake, $192,000, is that gonna be under the state's spec, or is that gonna be under a spec from you?
So that is under the state's PRID program, so that would be under, you know, there's state requirements to get that funding.
I want to just go for a minute over this 6-year plan. Do you have this in your hand?
I don't.
I think you should. And maybe anyone else who would like one, I have some extra copies. You know, every time we go through a grant cycle, I am compelled to make a 2, 3, 5, 7-year plan, which changes every week. And it's a good exercise, I think, and it is also kind of good to check off some of the things that you have done. And so I've been hammering away at this document that I've given you, and it is certainly not set in stone. I'd like to just go through the 2020 list and look ahead. Fill potholes, we're working on that tonight. I have a complete list of potholes for Northwest Services, and I've met with him to go through that. We are still in the process of redoing all of our faded street signs, and I have another huge list here on the counter of street signs. Review reflectivity study by the county. I asked them if they are still continuing to do that, and they are still inventorying those signs. I asked them to inventory our new ATV signage, and they have done that. We received a bill for that. I asked Robin if she would post that bill back to the ATV club. Install boat cleaning stations. That was a Eagle Scout project. Both of those, or all 3 of those, were installed along with 2 in the city. The problem trees we had on Stony Creek and North Shore Road, along with a lot of storm damage that we had from a late August storm on the west side of the lake. I kicked this in here. I don't know, Robin, you're going to help me with this. We are set to pay part of our funding with the state trust fund we paid in March and April of this year, correct?
We are going to do a refinance
Right.
at the first of the year. So by the December meeting, we need to start that process, if not just a little bit sooner. So we can refinance in the new year, then we'll split the $360 or $1,000 payment from March of 2021 into March of 2022. So that will divide that loan out. But to do that refinance, we had to do another $90,000 loan, sort of as a caveat of having that refinance done.
But we're only gonna have, okay. I think it's 2023 because you got $150,000. 2021, 150,000, 2022, 150,000. That's not $360,000.
You want to do a 3-year
You
loan?
gotta do a 3-year.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna be $60,000 short again,
Yeah,
70-some
yeah.
thousand.
That's all I need to know, so we know what the term should be.
All right, let's get that into this road plan. You'll help me work on that.
That's for the.
Keep going, because then we have already begun some work on the design for Crossman Road, correct?
Yeah, we, with the change in the grant program, we kind of put on pause, doing the survey. We do have the contract in place, but we wanted to make sure that the town is secure with getting the grant funding before we went ahead with everything. So,
We really haven't done a lot that we are going to be in arrears with you on, all right?
but we're ready to work on that, as soon as you want us to.
As needed, I'm gonna say. All right, also, I found this to be really helpful when we did Airport Road. I think it's important for us to do an inventory of all the driveways and the culverts on Crossman, so that if there is minor repair or replacement, we can do that ahead of time so those settle. We always talk about doing some seal coating on Conservation Road, because that was the road we did the cold mix asphalt on, and I think we've missed our window of opportunity this year. We have put out for bid the gravel grading and shoulder work on London Road, Schollmeyer Lane, and Bean Lake Road. I don't see any numbers here tonight, but Ron was talking about being here and the county was interested in it. Salt and sand details, I believe we have 3 tons of salt remaining. We have 75 on order, and we have 10 tons in reserve. Here's another confusing thing. Each year, we have a shared payment of $800 with Milford for Fable Road snow removal. I don't know if we've been billed for that yet, or...
I think I've seen it. I'm wondering if they don't know to do that.
Well, Jim was asking asking about Fable Road, of course. If we can find out what kind of an agreement we really have, that they have with the city, with Milford, and how that all works, since it's really shared territory.
And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think our Wolf is mowing weeds on Fable Road on our side. And he shouldn't be. That's Milford's supposed to mow both. Now, they just went through and did their mowing on only their side, because ours was done. So I think Wolf did it. I mean,
All right, we're gonna talk to Glenn about that.
and we're paying them to do both sides.
Okay. All right, then, move to 21 here, just to kind of talk things over. We're gonna change this March payment due in 21. We're gonna be making a state trust fund payment in 22 and 23, correct?
It'll be 3 years of spreading that.
And that's finishing out Airport Road. So in March of 23, we are going to be debt-free with the state of Wisconsin.
Yep.
We live that long. Laugh if you want. This, I said, is really a disappointing thing. So for 21, getting off with a big bang, we're going to be filling potholes and doing maintenance. I put crack filling on Mansfield Road, inventory of culverts and driveways on Rock Lake Road. I'd like to get going on the design process for Rock Lake Road the first part of this year, and we need to decide how we want to go forward with that. I put in here seal coating Court Lane and Conservation. Also, our snow removal contract will be up in 21, and so I think we should be bidding that early in the spring. Details on sand and salt get added. I don't want to go too much further because it's kind of the same old stuff. 22, the Wolf contract comes up. We'll have to add the details on our trust fund loan. I put Crossman Road design. I put for 23, the repaving of Rock Lake Road. We'll have that all ready to go. 24, let the bids for Crossman Road and get Crossman Road done in 25. I don't know. I'm sure this document is going to change 52 times between now and then.
How come Crossman Road isn't gonna be done in 21?
Yeah.
Well, because you're going to have those funds expiring for Rock Lake Road, and I guess if you want to throw $180,000 over your shoulder, you move that up. But the way we have this whole thing structured now financially, we are compelled to pay up before we can move to new projects.
But Crossman Road, potentially we have all the money to do that.
Right.
Yes, but we also have the obligation to use that money for Rock Lake Road that is already given to us, unless we let that go.
Well, why can't you do two projects in the same year?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good,
I
I'm
think,
game.
I think we need to sit
I think-
down and look at our financial position, because we do have, like Dave says, we have the money for Crossman Road. I think we have everything we need, the 250,000 plus the grant, and that should pay for the engineering and everything. So that, I think, is off the table.
Before it
We'll do
goes
that
away.
anytime. How much do we, of this $193,000 grant for Rock Lake Road, is the town responsible for?
That's half.
That's
The
half.
total
Half?
project's
That's half.
385.
So, oh, this is our portion,
Yes,
193.
yep.
It's a 50/50, so the grant covers half and the town covers half.
So a total of 380.
385.
385.
Oh, oh boy.
And that $5,000 that you were talking about, is left from our Courth Lane project, and that is to be applied to anything we buy hot mix asphalt for. So we could add that $5,000 into the Rock Lake Road, or we could use that as far as Crossman. I think we can keep that, carry that
I'm not sure
over.
if you can add that into Rock Lake, because I don't know that you can get above that 50% getting covered by that program. So since you're already at 50%, I don't know that you can apply any more money to that.
Well, that's one of those hanging chads, that $5,000 is still left from Courth.
So how many feet do we have on Rock Lake Road that's gonna be done?
Well, we
Is
would,
that just strictly under the bridge?
no, we would do the entire, we rebuild the corner. We rebuild the pork chop corner at B. We go up to the bridge. We do not do anything under the bridge, and we go all the way to the town line. That's the way that grant was written. With the caveat, you know, that we were going to pave that the same time the state was doing theirs, and it was gonna save us some money on the paving. But now they have pushed that out to 25. And that, too, that target date changes every year and a half.
Okay, well, we need to do some creative thinking on that one.
Yes, we
because
do.
Budget
we've got the, we'll have we'll have a little bit out of this
Oh, that-
grant money, this 90,000.
The additional loan, you mean?
Yeah, it won't be full 90, but we need to look at that and see how much
So
money
do
we'll have
we-
in there.
Right.
And then, see how much we can budget
Put towards it.
for 2 years and then do that one in 23.
It would be really nice to do both of them in 23. I think there might be some cost savings there. Okay, more on the Savior Road.
Yeah, and I guess I like your idea of putting a road plan together, and, you know, don't be afraid to even look out in farther years, so you know kind of what's coming up, so you can budget for it ahead of time. And also with, you know, I think that, you know, there may be chances for future projects to have either stimulus money or additional grant programs. So it's always good to have a plan, so if opportunities come up to get grant funding, like the MLS program, you have a knowledge of what projects you could apply that for. I know it's overwhelming, but, you know, you gotta take the funding when you can get it to keep your roads up, so that you don't get too far behind.
And a road plan is an integral part of any grant writing exercise. So that's why I've been kind of staying on it and trying to be creative. I guess we can continue this discussion at our budget meeting, huh?
I would say.
Okay. Corey, thank you so much for coming.
Is he doing the subdivision? Ordinance and draft?
We can talk about that.
Well,
Stick around.
Yeah, don't leave, okay? Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Fall road tour information, I guess you guys know we're replacing these signs.
yeah.
I'm looking for some dollar figures on milling off Schollmeyer Lane, and the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully that'll get kicking. I think Ron said he was gonna be here tonight, but he has not come. Item B, discussion and possible action regarding the 2021 Cambridge Fire EMS budget. Discussion may include action on one of the following options regarding the Cambridge Area Fire and EMS Station Addition starting in the spring of 2022. Number 1, have an advisory referendum in the spring of 21. This is what they've proposed.
No, these are the things that we have talked about, because economy emergency services fit under a completely different category, you're not required to run a referendum. So you can have a binding referendum, which says the board has to follow what the electors say. Or you can do a non-binding, which would the board still makes a decision. The referendum would just strictly be what it means, or says as being advisory. Or we can do it by a board vote on a resolution. Gene was working on trying to get a template for a resolution if one would, for some for us to look at. The thing, if you went with from what I can understand, if you go with a referendum, that's going to cost the commission $15,000 to $20,000 to put that all together. So there would be an additional charge. And then when it gets down to our level for the promotion of that referendum, you can figure another $1,000 to $1,500 in flyers if one would choose to, send them out and promote those. The down and dirty, simple way to do it would be to pass it, board passed by resolution. Or we could take it to the spring annual meeting and bring it up for an advisory vote at the annual meeting to see how the electors feel about it. And that's when Gene, I think Kevin Beard put this stuff together, I'm assuming, correct? So this would be the town of Lake Mills share. We would be, because the commission is not a taxable entity, so it has to come back to the municipalities have to supply the money. So we would have to borrow $217,750 for that total of $6.5 million for the addition and the renovation of the existing fire station. So you can see on there that our interest, and Kevin used 4%, which is could be 4, but it's probably a little high. So that'd be around $100,000 for a 20-year loan, state trust fund loan. And then, so your total, the total debt to the town of Lake Mills would be $317,887. So, again, it'd be $3 to $5 per $100,000 of equalized value is what that kind of figures out to be. So, my suggestion is, I like the resolution, but that does not take the feel in for what our electors. So then, I don't know if the annual meeting would be a place to bring it up. So I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I can add that at the September meeting for the Village of Cambridge, they had decided, if it helps, because they're one of the, I think they pay in like 25% of, for this project.
23, yeah.
Yeah, they motioned to hold a referendum in spring of 2021, and I think they decided it was non-binding, that it would not be a non-binding.
Oh, is that what they went with, Bob? I don't know what they think.
I've got the copy here. It says, motion by trustee Brunig to hold a referendum spring of 2021, a decision on whether or not it is a binding or advisory to be determined at a later date pending further financial information. Seconded by trustee Cumber? Okay. So that's what they decided. I don't know, Bob, do you know of any others that have made any decisions on how they're approaching this?
At this point, there aren't any other decisions made. Those are the minutes that I just read, so they're going to decide whether, I think they're going to decide whether it's going to be binding or not.
Okay.
But they have decided definitely to go to a referendum question in the village. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Which then again, that will cost the commission some money.
Yep.
They bill you, even though they decided?
Yeah, because, well, once it goes onto the ballot, it's just a matter of printing, but there's gonna be cost involved with putting the referendum together, and I would assume that the city is gonna have to pay for the promotion, or the commission's gonna have to pay for the promotion.
It would be the commission that would have to pay
Yeah.
for it, is my understanding.
And that's gonna be my guess, because, you know, this Village of Cambridge they're really, in my opinion, dragging their feet. Rightfully so, you know, we're spending the taxpayers' money, but in the same token, we're not spending it for today. You're spending it for tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, and I think we kind of pretty much have 50 years in mind here. So many municipalities, when they go to expand their fire and EMS, whether they're together or separate, they keep having to expand every 3 to 5 years. Fort, I believe they're on their third expansion in 5 years. And we're trying to spearhead that so it does not cost all that extra money of having to continually open this thing up. So, you know, I don't know. I guess that's kind of it in a nutshell. Bob, knows everything to add.
Well, just one incentive to do it quickly is that every 6 months or every year it goes up by 3%. Is that a number?
Right, yeah.
So if this could, you know, if we could start it 9 months earlier, that would be probably $250,000 saving. You know, I don't know how that's computed or how that's calculated, but you know, we're in need of this station to be expanded. We're tripping over each other. If you haven't had a chance, go to the website and look at some of the video we put together.
We saw that at our last meeting, so. Which by the way was a total failure, but our meeting was a failure. It was a bad weather night. It was a nightmare.
Let's just chalk it up to doing July or something next year.
I got a question on the loan. You're expecting every village and town to take out their own loans?
Correct.
Why wouldn't the commission take out one loan?
Because we are not a taxing body. It all has to be a community fund from the communities under the percentage that you have interest in the fire station. I know, Jim, I talked with Gene too, because and depending on how you set this thing up, because anybody that's built, you have a construction loan, so there's draws.
Right.
So do you get all of the money and then just administer it out as a draw? Or do you get a construction loan and when the building is complete, then you throw it over into a mortgage loan? I guess throw it into a mortgage loan right away and we have the money and then, you know, we just would have to administer it out, you know, as, well, you know, you're paying the bills, so.
Will the state trust fund even grant a 30-year loan or a 25-year loan or whatever we got here?
20.
20-year loan?
I don't know, this is just.
I'm not sure they even have those kind of terms.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just put together for, you know, just for a
Interest.
topic of discussion, to know kind of where you're at.
Okay.
And the other thing you do is hope is, if they wouldn't do that, is what you can do is you can take out a 5-year loan with a balloon payment and then refinance every 5 years or every 10 years or whatever it is.
That's a lot of administrative work.
Yeah, I know, but what are you gonna do?
We'll do
You
the
know?
financial game, just like we're playing with the roads.
So you're gonna have contracts with all the villages and towns, and this is gonna be part of the contract?
Well,
I mean, what guarantees do you have that the towns are gonna continue to pay once you're into it?
Well, I guess we haven't really talked about that. We've
Well-
talked about parts of, if they would not, if one of the municipalities does not approve this, and if they contract with Cambridge Fire and EMS, it's gonna be the same as what we have with the city of Lake Mills. It's gonna be a complete cost of operations divided by your percentage. or you're gonna have to contract with somebody else. And then that gets, then the money would then would get split up between the remaining municipalities that are in the group.
Yeah, I know, but, you know, we pay 3.35%, okay, of the Cambridge Fire Department budget, Town of
Right.
Lake Mills. That varies too from year to year. I mean, I guess you're locking us into 3.35%. We're taking out a 20-year mortgage and paying that, and in year 5, our percentage may drop to 2. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like
It's a lot of money.
like the commission should be taking out the loan and divvying up what each town owes every year. My opinion, it just seems
Yeah, I
like
could
a
talk to,
clumsy way of doing it right here.
Yeah, it does kind of seem.
I don't think the commission has the authority to borrow.
I know, but you understand my point, it's,
yeah,
there's no guarantees at all that the town of Oakland shouldn't be paying more next year, and we should pay less, or Village of Cambridge has a bigger percentage and we have a less of a percentage. It just doesn't seem fair. For 20 years, you're locked into today's percentage. We're only 3.35%. I'm looking at these guys that are 25% and 30% of the, they would have a bigger issue with it, I would think. If they thought about this. But anyway, we don't need to make a decision tonight.
No, we don't. I just wanted to say what is printed on our agenda is, this first item was to have an advisory referendum. The second was for each municipality to pass a resolution. And then essentially, the other thing we could do is ask to have this put on our town's annual meeting agenda in the spring and get either a positive or a negative view from our residents. So I guess that's kind of what we're looking at, is looking ahead and planning how this should be done. Good to have those options, I guess, and to see where we're at. I guess my druthers would be to work with a resolution, but I think we need to make sure we're understanding all these financial terms. Pretty complicated issue. I agree with you, Jim, that there could be some fluctuation in the equalized value or the percentage, and that might be something we need to look at over time.
that topic has never came up. I've thought about it, but it's never really came up because, what happens if you do, Oakland drops Jefferson and it all comes, to this service. So it does change things, but I guess we have to talk about that.
Plenty of stuff to talk about, and I know that you're processing along, so good you were here and you could hear what we had to say tonight. You can take that back. I again compliment you for your hard work on that committee. It's not easy. Okay, let's move on. Item C, discussion and/or decision on the Conti property ditch work on Saddle Lane. Jason, glad you're here. We have had some, thank you for coming, you guys. Some ongoing decision with the Contis on their property on Saddle and Bridle Path, and they are not able to be here tonight. They are expecting exciting things in their family, and I have spoken with them on the phone. They really feel that the water is not draining properly at this point in time. I think that we need to go back and do something. I know that Jason is either working with us or he's waiting for some direction on this, I think. We are not going to be able to accept the way that it is. They're not happy at all. So what do you guys, I asked you all to look at it. What do you think we should be doing?
I was out there today. I looked at it. The main issue here is west of their driveway culvert. I know, Jason, you and I were up there and talked about it. And you went a certain distance to the west side. Well, actually, if you look at their lot, there's a hump in that ditch, about 50 feet to the west of the end of their culvert. And of course, you didn't ditch that far because your bid didn't cover that. But it seems like you walk that ditch today, I walked it, and you're fine until you hit that point, and then you're sloshing in water, like a swamp. So I think when their house was built years ago, or how many years ago, not too long, the erosion from their lot filled that ditch and created this hump in there, and I feel it's too late now, but that should have been dug out by their contractor and fixed at that time. But, you know, here we sit with the issue now, and it's a town issue all of a sudden. So I do agree with them. That water is being backed up. There was water actually sitting in their culvert under the driveway today again. So if that was ditched further to the west, you would get it to flow out of there. So yeah, I think there needs to be some additional work done. Not a lot, just some scraping and reseeding.
Are you amenable to doing that, Jason, and charging us time and materials?
I believe the first part of the job was to get rid of the cattails, right?
Yeah.
And so we went all the way to the ditch, another 70 feet farther, above and beyond the initial part already. So that this would be additional again.
Right. Yeah, you did more than what your bid covered, because you did go on the other side of the culvert and scrape that out.
Well, even with the cattails to the east side of their culvert was about 70 feet.
Yeah.
We discussed that and looked at that. So, yeah, I mean, we've tried to make it, and I don't know if I opened a can of worms, but I talked with them, and they said they're concerned about the west side of their culvert while I was there that working that day. And I said, well, I'm not authorized to go farther. Just be polite and explain it.
Well, I think we need to go forward from here and repair that west side of the ditch and get rid of that hump so that that water drains. If you are willing to do that, I think that's what we should do.
Yeah.
You guys in agreement with that?
You should look at the east side too, the 70 feet you did. I think there's a few low areas in there, or just make sure it flows. I'm sure there's drop from the culvert coming onto the road to their driveway culvert, but it just seems like some of that ditch needs to be scraped out. Maybe some of that dirt washed in again, or, because you probably put some new topsoil in there.
I put some shredded topsoil
Yeah.
and then EMAT on it. But yes, all the water that was sitting in the cattail area by the culvert flowed all the way to the culvert and then ended up on the west side of the culvert as I finished.
And then
So the
back.
water kept following the work as I was working my way east to
Yeah.
west. And so then it ended up on the west side of the culvert after I was finished.
It may be that you just need to clean out the west side further, and it would stop that water from backing up. I think it backs up all the way through their culvert and out to the road, because it's wet there too. So.
I haven't looked at it since it rained, so I can do that also.
Okay,
Was there a start of a motion on that or no?
I make a motion to have Jason go up and continue his ditching to get it to flow to the west.
Second.
is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you, Jason. Before we go into this discussion of the Homeowners Association, I guess you need to listen to all of this, Corey, and I think we should talk about what Jim gave us in his Planning Commission report. The Planning Commission started fooling around with the subdivision ordinance when you first came on board and started working with us. The subdivision ordinance needs to be reworked, and there is really no one willing on the Planning Commission to do that work of rewriting that ordinance. Could you do that for us, and then that group will begin working on approving that subdivision ordinance over the winter months, this winter?
Sure, from a technical aspect, I definitely can do that. It probably would be wise to have the town's attorney also take a look at it, because there has been some recent statutory changes that may impact the authority of the town to have certain things in there or not. But yes, you certainly can do that.
I think the first step would, you had submitted some comments
Yep.
and suggestions, and the Plan Commission looked at it, and we decided that those every one of your issues or comments should be incorporated into a draft. And once that draft was done, then the plan commission would look at it and then we'd send it on to our attorney for review. So that was the process.
Sure.
So I think we need the draft with your suggestions incorporated first.
Okay. Was there
And
anything
then,
else?
you know, that kind of stopped because of COVID, so, you know, everything just got put on hold, so.
Was there any other comments or things, changes that you wanted in there aside from what I put together
No.
before?
Just your comments.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on then.
That was it, the whole thing.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Homeowners Association, which is the next issue. Item D, discussion and/or decision on establishment of a homeowners association for Shorewood Hills North subdivision. And this has come up because we determined that we should be doing some maintenance in those pond areas in the Shorewood North subdivision. And we've also been challenged to change some of the drainage in that area, which we approved. And we sought a opinion from our attorney, Mr. Larson, about the formation of a homeowners association. And he did the research on that for us. And he suggested that indeed we begin to take action to form that homeowners association, to ask those individuals to form a homeowners association to do the maintenance work that is necessary. And if they will not, then we will proceed into a special assessment kind of a situation. So let's talk about that. I mean, I don't know how you've had some experience with this, Corey. We certainly have not. It's kind of clunky, but I think we need to ask Eric to develop a letter that we send and create a time for them to meet and see if they won't come together and do that.
So, am I correct in saying that there are some recorded covenants that mention that? So I think that would be the most logical place to start if those were, you know, recorded and part of the deed. I think that kind of sets the framework of what their responsibilities are. And then I guess beyond that, you know, if that HOA is not in existence, I think we need to look at the framework of what that requires for having that group get together and meet. And I guess kind of let them know the intentions of the town. If they're not going to fulfill the obligations in that recorded covenant, then the town is going to, you know, consider doing the repairs themselves and then creating an assessment for that. So that's kind of the general process that I would see going forward with that. If you want me to take a look at those covenants, I probably could provide, you know, more information on how to approach that.
Our attorney already looked at them. He got sent that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he's looked at it, and that's what he suggested.
So really, we need a draft.
I did not talk to him, I just read his email.
So we really just need to draft a letter then.
No, I did not. So the email only got sent to you.
No,
Nope.
pretty sure.
Never got no email.
Okay. And provide a copy of
I
it.
didn't.
All right, so I'll forward this to you then, this letter. Oh, this is about the retention ponds,
It's not only this
the
homeowner.
letter.
Yeah, went into the homeowners association that
So
was
it's the other
here
one,
when
too.
the subdivision north.
Phase 1 and Phase 2 has a homeowners
Yeah.
association also, and they're responsible for that other pond that isn't being cleaned up. So they aren't doing their due diligence either on that. So there's two separate ponds.
So I guess one suggestion I would have in the future, maybe this ties in with the ordinance amendments that we make. In other places where I've worked, we actually created a required maintenance agreement that gets recorded that basically answers all these questions that you're trying to answer after the fact of how repairs get done if the HOA isn't, you know, meeting those requirements. So new subdivisions going forward, there's kind of a clear framework and expectation of how that happens. So I think it'd be helpful to have that in place because obviously going back after the fact, a lot of the residents are probably gonna say, well, I didn't, know any of that was going to happen. And at least if there's, a clear framework, it's a lot easier to deal with on the road. One thing I think that the residents should know, if the town ends up doing the maintenance, it generally ends up costing more than if they have a homeowners association privately complete the maintenance activities and keep up with it. If you get behind on it and you don't keep up with it, the costs just get higher and higher. And then if the town has to complete the work, typically, public bidding requirements and things like that result in higher costs than what, a homeowners association could just hire a contractor for.
Okay. Jason, go ahead.
If the association was actually formed, there's enough money to maintain everything every year.
Yeah, through their dues.
Through their dues.
Their dues. There's probably, if people were to, if the association was formed and everybody were to pay the annual dues that they're supposed to pay, there's probably $2,500 available right now. But you got to form an association to ask for the dues. There's approximately $1,000 in the association checking account right now. But that was only from the initial sale of the lots, not the last 3 years of everybody who's lived there for $15 each year. So you take 33 times 15 times 2 or 3 years, and you would have enough money to mow those ponds twice a year and not come up with a larger tree cutting problem, significant issue, and it's just much easier. So, but that question was, a letter was sent to all the owners in late 18 or 19, and I think 7 people showed up, out of maybe 18 or 20 residents. So.
And those covenants were recorded when you recorded those deeds, so that answers that question.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess what we need to do is decide that we are going to approach Mr. Larson again and ask him to draft that letter to those homeowners. And we will form a list of those homeowners. You probably have that list, huh?
It's on the covenants.
Yeah, it is on the covenant.
I've got your file there, by the way, before you leave, Jason.
And go forward in doing that. Isn't that what you guys think? Yes, Corey?
I think if people haven't been shown interest in paying their dues and having this association be active, I think the thing that might get their attention is, how much it would cost if the town did that. So, it might not be a bad idea to get an estimate from a contractor of how much that would cost to complete the work roughly, and basically let them know they can form an association and attack this on their own, and it will probably be cheaper than, if the town has to get involved with it.
And to tack on administrative fees at the town level.
Right.
Thought we already had a price on that.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're gonna do.
So you're gonna have Eric write the letter?
Either that or I'll get kicking on the letter and
Oh, okay.
send a draft to him and go from there. I think that makes sense. I think it certainly would get more attention if it was addressed by municipal law to them. All right.
Then we also have to start thinking about the other one too, because that pond needs to be cleaned too. So
Yeah,
we do have,
Do we have an estimate for that, cleaning of that
I
pond?
think so.
yeah,
Yeah. So we know, and there is an established homeowners association there.
yeah.
So we could send them a letter too, saying, hey, these are your responsibilities. And this is the cost.
So the letters would be very similar, just one would be to
Yep.
an established HOA, the other one would be to create a new.
Is the first phase part of Rock Lake Homeowners Association?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they would not allow the second phase to come into their association.
I recall. All right, that's what we'll do. Item E, discussion and decision of gravel grading bids for Bean Lake, Schollmeyer, Alley, London, and Conservation. I have no numbers in front of me. I asked the county for numbers, I asked Northwest for numbers. We have no numbers. guess we'll just let that ride. I see how attractive that work is.
We have 20,000 from the town.
Yes? But I asked them for numbers,
I know.
you know,
Okay.
bid numbers.
Yep.
And they were talking about maybe having interest in doing it, you know, I told them they're the ones who always did it for 7 or 8 years fast. And they were interested in doing it in the late fall, so we'll have to wait and see. F, discussion and or decision for setting up a date for the budget workshop. We are possibly, David, you missed part of this discussion, kicking around, meeting with the Lake Mills Fire Department either on Monday night, the 19th at 6 p.m. or Monday night, the 26th of October at 6 p.m. But Wilkie hasn't given us a date yet, so we're waiting on that.
So that's for the advisory committee thing?
Well, that would be whatever you want to call it, budgeting
Budget.
meeting for the fire department.
You have anything on from the Department of Revenue yet?
Yes, I've gotten some of the bits and pieces we need.
We need to
Should've
know
read
how
that.
much we can do for tax levy.
Right.
That's the piece we need.
Right. I think if we try to look at the week of the 26th, but
Okay.
I don't know.
26th through the 30th. 26th is a Monday night.
So that may be a fire meeting. What
Yep,
would
that-
happen if we did Wednesday, the 28th?
Fine with me.
That works.
I know you're excited about it, Dave. You guys want to go ahead at what time?
That's Dave.
Whatever, for me.
Is that okay? You want to
Yeah,
quit
6
early or
o'clock.
you want to wait till 7?
Well, if we don't get started, it gets pretty late.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 o'clock it is.
The 28th.
Wednesday,
So,
28th.
October 28th.
Wednesday, the 28th, October 28th.
At 6.
Yeah, it's
Okay. G, discussion and or decision of appointments for new election officials for the November 3rd election.
Okay, so because of the COVID, we've had to recruit new ones, and with it being such a large election, I just want everybody to be appointed. They'll go through a real basic training as we go along, just to make sure they're all appointed is kind of the key.
Okay, you want me to read the list of appointees? We need to motion to appoint these, correct?
Yes, some probably have already been appointed as of December 2018, but we're just going to refresh this whole list because of the type of election we're going into.
All right, well, why don't you, since you're familiar with it, read the list of appointees?
We've got Margaret Hanrahan, Linda Lira, Corinne Magnoni, Pam Strike, possibly Amy Phillips, Nancy Lang, Linda Richardson, Jerry Schultz, Sarah Mukta, Sue Dale, I got Linda Lee on it twice, sorry. Royce Roeder, I believe the name is, I think I'm missing an E in there. Rebecca Smith, Linda Zwicker, Karen Johnson, Jen Geertz, I believe the name is. And we do have 3 high school workers who are required to live in the town in order to work. We've got Jade Pita, Curtis Nelson, and Melanie Collins.
All right, I would motion to appoint this list of appointees for the election in 2020. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the appointed election officials, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thanks, Robin, for all your hard work and for rounding up these workers. I know that it's been a continual battle and expense. Item 10, old business. A, discussion and or decision of riprap on Cedar Lane culvert, request for proposals. Somehow Robin and I got on the wrong track with this request for proposal thing. So I have sent out another request for proposal. We are going to be participating in a grant program with the county, which is a 50% cost share. We have asked again for bids. The design has not changed, although the location of the riprap has changed to now be surrounding both sides of the culvert and working only in the town's right-of-way instead of on the Dawson property. The project is still 70 linear feet. I've asked that these bids be returned before our November meeting so that we can look at them. I've also added a completion date of May 30th of '21. I'm also asking for 2 references or examples of their shoreline stabilization work. And so this will go out and will come back again to us. Hopefully we can get this done this winter or early spring. And thank you, Robin, for helping me get those out.
Yeah, and I apologize for any confusion. It's been a little nutty.
It's been a hectic time around the culvert. Item B, discussion and or decision of the town hall property disposal. I don't know, any of you know that we hosted here our board of review last week. Jim, Robin, and I were present. I don't know how you guys feel about these COVID meetings, but I feel like we need to keep going because we have bills to pay and so much on our plate. So we have not as a group discussed this in any other meeting other than in passing at Board of Review, and Dave was not present for that. So I guess we can discuss a little bit. It was really a clunky meeting in September because the weather was so bad. We were directed by, we brought the subject up of how the townspeople felt about a new town hall and how we should approach this. Because the weather was bad, it was hard to get a real read on how anybody really felt. But the direction we were given was to seek values of property like ours in the town, to seek property values comparable to those of the 3 acres that we own on Conservation Road. And so I guess I don't really know how to approach that, and I guess I'd like to hear what you guys say, what you guys think about how we're going to approach what Jason has proposed to us and what we should go forward and do.
One thought I had was that Michael,
Alex.
he kind of stepped forward a little bit. He didn't say that he would do it, but if he's in the brokerage business, I was kind of reading between the lines of that he may possibly be interested in looking at it. So he's a town resident that may be interested.
Interested in the property values, okay.
Because he's a broker.
In the interest of Jason's issue, I guess, is whether he purchases this property or that one over there. So keep him moving along. I think we should make a decision on this property tonight and look for land down the road a little bit. But my recommendation would be to make a motion on this property and then continue to look at property for sale along County Trunk S and get an idea of value of land and what we should be paying. We have no money right now, and we did sell this property. We had no place to go. We have no home to go to for the foreseeable future, maybe 2-3 years down the line before we ever do anything. And to be without a town hall for 2 or 3 years, not a good idea in my mind, so.
They make elections very hard.
They
They make elections very hard, yes, in meetings.
I feel that we cannot sell this property at this time. or even in a year from now. That's my opinion. We need town hall.
Corey, you and I had some ongoing discussions about this. Corey made a suggestion to me. We were discussing land values and other possible sites within the town. Why don't you explain to me what you suggested?
So I guess just a couple general thoughts. I think, you know, having an idea of what this parcel is worth, you know, obviously, like Jim mentioned, you need a place to go, you know, so you kind of need a timeline and a plan of what you're going to do in the interim and when you're going to sell and how much you're going to sell for and how much you're going to buy for. And to me, there's a lot of pieces of that puzzle that need to come together really before you kind of have a picture of what everything that's going on. Jason mentioned one thing of possible, you know, either grant funding or low interest loans too, I think is another thing that the town should look into. I know rural development and CDBG might be potential sources for that. So, you know, I think that may figure into the equation as well. But, you know, parcels like this one are kind of difficult to put a value on, and maybe a local broker might have the best idea of kind of what this parcel would be worth. But it's a tough thing to put a value on a parcel like this. It's a little bit unique, so you don't have many comparables to see, you know, what a piece of land and what this property would be worth. So those are my thoughts of, you know, just kind of putting all of the pieces together and a plan together of long-term, you know, how to get there.
And Corey, I did check into the USDA grants, and obviously being a federal government program, you know, they're possible. There's a lot of hoops. But one of the biggest things is that first of all, there's no grant money for us. The only grant money would be for equipment. But there would be loans available for land and buildings to, you know, produce that community meetings place. But one of the provisions into that loan is if you can get a competitive rate at your local lender, that they will not even look at it. But if they can beat it, then they will accept you in. And I believe I think they're 20-year loans, and the interest is set by the quarter. So whichever quarter you fit into is what you're going to pay for the duration of that arm. So it's out there, but there's no freebies on this one. So.
Yeah, I think the grant program for rural development, I think you have to be 80% of the median income to even qualify for any of that. And so you may not qualify, and with how low interest rates are, maybe the low interest, you know, the low interest rate loan program doesn't really even do anything for you. But those are just things that I think, it sounds like you've already looked into that, but those are kind of the things that, you know, I think is some of the homework that you've already done, and that's great.
Do you think that there would be any advantage in us looking or working with Prairie Land Services, as we discussed, on the value of this property?
I guess I don't know necessarily that it has to be, you know, them.
Yeah.
I think, you know, getting someone with experience in this local area to really know kind of, you know, if there are any similar comparables and, you know, to put a value on, you know, what they feel this property is worth. You know, I think you could, if there's a local broker, maybe they're better than what Prairie would do. Prairie is, I think, like I mentioned, both, you know, they're very talented, I think, at kind of negotiating, you know, property, especially acquisitions and, you know.
And easements and things like that for utilities when you're doing construction work.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
think we need to look at, well, I don't know, what do you think a RFP for an architect would be to sit with us and come up with a needs assessment, preliminary plan, a bubble diagram, to tell us how much land we need, parking spaces, all the requirements that are needed to build a new facility. Because we don't even know how much land we need right now, and how much building we need.
I very much agree. I think it would be a good idea to do a facility needs assessment to figure out, how many parking spaces you need, how much square footage you need, how much storage you need, all of those pieces. Because like you said, you don't even know what you need to buy if you don't have the building size and the lot size nailed down. So I'm sure, there's architects that do those types of services. I would guess, it would really be a wild guess, but we could reach out to some architects just to get a ballpark figure for that. I would guess that would probably be $5,000 to $10,000 to do something like that. But again, that's just a guess. If you want, I certainly could give a few a call and see what they say, or you could.
Well, if you know some, and you know some architects in this area, I only know bigger ones, whatever stuff, they don't touch this stuff. Some smaller architectural firms that.
Sure, yeah, we know many of them, so.
And then you could come up with a list, and maybe we could send out an RFP.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could help us write the RFP. So anyway, we're just looking for a needs assessment, I think.
Sure,
and
I don't think it would be very
It's not very,
complicated.
it's not complicated. So, I think that's the next step. But then at least we know what we're looking at. What cost, we can get an estimate of the building at that time too.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
You want to offer a motion, I know you do.
Yeah, I want to make a motion that at this time, and do not sell this property.
And I'll second that. Now, is there discussion on that?
Jay, what was, what Jim's motion was, was at this time. That doesn't mean it doesn't change in, 2 months from now. And when you were talking about your timeline, if you were going to demo this building to do what you wanted to do, would that be 1 year from now? So, because, and Jim is right, we have to have a place to go first. But at least we know, how much time, is in between there.
Right. If all things were to go well, would we like to start some design work in the spring on a building? Whether it's Sandy Beach frontage or Salt Main frontage, whatever, we would like to start probably some architectural stuff come spring.
Right.
Once we have kind of kickstarted that over there with a couple of buildings and some of our initial design, that's our spinning right now a little bit from all our design work. Once we gain a little momentum on that, we would probably start thinking about designing something in the spring.
But we'd still be able to function there.
Oh, yeah, we're just talking about designing
Design.
a building
Yeah.
to what's gonna fit here maybe, and November is not a deadline to say, well, we don't wanna sell this. When we first gave our options or proposal, or, we just looked up some land values based on our local realtor.
Sure.
25, 28 years or however long she's been around. And we're not opposed to other suggestions or a counter offer or more land or whatever. It was a starting point. So I hope it's open, that it doesn't feel like, hey, this is what we think that's worth it. I don't think either value of that land or this is a finite spot.
Right.
So, it was a starting point. We'd like to keep it open.
Yeah, so then once the design work would be done, that would incorporate this lot. Then when the design work is done, when would you be looking at demoing, if you're in a perfect world?
Yeah, a year from now.
A year from now?
Yeah, to own it and do nothing with it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Spins wheels, doesn't pay to own it.
Right, yep, I agree.
So, yeah, is there probably 6 months or more of decision time where you don't have to put it on a vote? We're open to that. Feel free to kick back ideas and see what's going on.
Right, yep, okay.
Maybe you can get a need study done, and it's not as alarming as.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? You two aren't helping us here. You aren't either, Matt. You gotta start thinking about this. You start thinking about your needs. We know what you need. You
You
need
want
a place to put stuff.
You want a safe so you can lock up all your items that you have to keep secure? Sure.
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
So Jim, part of your motion, I believe you have motion to not sell the property,
At this time.
at this time. Okay, that was on there, all right. Just want to make sure I get the
All right, we
language
have a
correct.
motion on the floor. Do you gentlemen want to do a roll call vote? Yes, okay.
Okay, Chairperson Osdike,
Aye.
Supervisor Schrader,
Aye.
Supervisor Heinz.
Aye.
Okay, so,
So we got 6 months to look in, do an RFP and figure out what we need here. Basically.
Yeah.
So we're the value of this property.
Okay.
A lot of work to do.
All right, we agreed we were going to meet on the 28th of October so we can begin our hard work. Okay, moving forward. Item C, board expense sheet approval. I know you have one, Jim,
we got the mileage for,
the town road tour, and I appreciate you driving and taking the time to do that. It's
I
right
gave
there.
you a piece of paper. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Robin, is there correspondence?
I do have some. There's a public hearing for zoning amendment for Formal Development LLC at Finch Brothers Road, which I'm assuming is Jason's property here for the two-family residential R28 and rural development RD and two-family residential planned development district overlay R28 and PP or PDD overlay. This is from the city. We're talking about October 27th, 2020. Is that your property?
Yes,
Okay, so that's in regards to his properties that he's working on.
for formal, not
Formal,
a group of people.
got it, okay. I can't remember if I brought this up last time. We did receive the grant, the Center for Tech and Civic Life grant for election expenses due to COVID, so we are purchasing new poll booths, which some of them we have. I may actually order a couple more. They're gonna cover additional wage costs for people to work, any PPE costs. There's a whole wide expanse, possibly even postage for all the absentees we had to send out. $5,000 grant that we received for that. For the November agenda, we've got a copy of the contract for the assessor that we need to look at. And then I did receive an email from Mr. Puhr, P-U-H-R, in regards to speeding on Woodfield Lane that I'll forward to you guys. There's an issue, right, kind of people cutting through and speeding again there. And he's got some suggestions and some ideas of maybe how to deter that more permanently rather than temporarily while an officer can sit there. He also asked about the lighting issue again, and I had sent an email to Steve wondering if that's maybe something that the Plan Commission can look at for regulations. I included you in on that, Dave, or Jim.
I think we're going to talk to Matt about that.
The lighting?
Yeah.
Okay. So he just wants to see where things are at. He made a suggestion to update the ordinance to match what the commercial standards were too.
Yeah, and Corey's looking at that, so.
So that is gonna be in the subdivision ordinance addressed in there.
I think it is now.
Okay.
Maybe it needs stronger language.
Okay,
What I'm asking is, can you send that,
yeah, I can do that.
maybe you could just take a look at that lighting issue. Lights spilling off of their property onto the neighbors, keeping them awake at night. I think it's clear in our ordinance, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, that you can't spill it over the property line, so.
Okay.
We just need to enforce our ordinance.
Yeah,
I think that was every,
sent one out
one
to the
other
guys
one
I know.
was a complaint from Shane
Sent one out to
Thomas
the
on
guys I
behalf
know
of
in
his
Woodfield.
parents, Eugene and Donna Thomas, in regards to the Beatty or Body Hotel over there on Highway B. Yeah, it's becoming kind of junky, mattresses sitting out, parked vehicles there, and they would like to see some cleanup being done and wanted to know what the town could do to do some enforcement there.
What's the address?
Well, I don't know the address off the top of my head. It's the Beatty Motel over
Beatty
there.
Motel.
Yeah, across from the Lower Tyranina Park.
There's also been some garbage dumped in the cul-de-sac at Fish Brothers Road.
is there?
Oh, really?
What kind of garbage?
A couple of crates of some stuff and
Okay.
a truck full of junk.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
You know, if you ever see that, you know, that's just a real easy place for people to dump. So if you see it, just give me a shout.
First time 15 years, but
Yeah, well,
Right.
obviously something.
I'll make sure that we get a phone call in and get that cleaned up, okay? Appreciate that. But if you see something like that, anybody who sees garbage, trash, we just saw the entire garage door, tires, those kinds of things, just let us know. I can make sure that we get that stuff cleaned up.
I think that's everything I have for correspondence.
All right, moving on to item 12, meeting scheduled. I believe now, I'm thinking, November 4th, the Wednesday, is the Joint Rock Lake Committee meeting. They will again meet at City Hall. They were talking about a Zoom meeting, Robin.
Okay.
Item,
Jason.
item B is November 4th is the meeting of the Planning Committee at 7 p.m. November 3rd is the presidential election here at the Town Hall from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. November 10th is a meeting of the town electors to approve the 2021 budget at 7 p.m. Also, October 10th is our regular, November 10th, I have this problem with October, I guess. Meeting again immediately after the budget hearing. And also adding October 28th at 6 p.m. for a budget workshop for the town of Lake Mills. I think we should also just add that fire budget workshop with the date to be recorded as soon as we know, okay?
If we're gonna have a meeting of the electors, on November 10th, do you think we should, have a vote for the Cambridge Fire to see what their feeling is there, rather than wait until spring?
We gonna have it at Court Park again? Could be,
No,
we're gonna have probably a number of people that come.
you think so?
I don't know. We don't normally have a lot of people come to the budget hearing,
I
but
just don't see how we can postpone it.
No, not for not the budget meeting, but for the meeting of, the electors.
lectures, yeah, that is the budget. It's the same thing. They
Yeah,
have-
I was thinking of budget night,
Yeah.
sorry.
Keep it as it is. Okay,
Yeah, leave it for spring.
And then it is at 7 and not 6?
it doesn't take us very long to do the budget portion of.
no,
No.
we just start regular at 7 and then
Yeah.
go into our regular meeting
Okay.
afterwards. All right, anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.